is the talent acquisition manager with State Farm, and she's going to lead our conversation about hiring during the pandemic and how that can be done effectively and efficiently. So, Annette, thank you so much for joining us, and I will kick it off to you.
All right, thanks, Paula. Let me see if we can get the PowerPoint back up and in the right way here. All right, are you all seeing the slides
Yes.
now? All right, fabulous, great. Thank you very much for inviting me. I appreciate the opportunity to come and share. I think this time will run super fast for me. So I might talk a little fast, and I might leave some of the slides I prepared to kind of be reading as we flip through it so we can get to content. But I thought I would start the conversation with a little bit of data and just to kind of ground us in where we are in relation to, you know, employment, hiring generally across the nation, our unemployment numbers. Shift then a little bit to talking about and sharing what I have been seeing and hearing and reading about in terms of trends in changed expectations from the candidates that may be applying for our businesses, and then move into talking a little bit about two skill groups of candidates, those with what I call hot skills, sort of hard to find skill sets, and then a group of candidates that's out there that maybe have the more customer service or sort of broader general skill sets. So let's start with a few whiz numbers first. So then and now. So I just took a look at the Department of Labor stats, kind of comparing where we were October of 2020 to a year ago in October of 2019. And so you can see some of the numbers I pulled here on this slide really quickly. Currently, we're still at 5.8% lower than we were, hiring activity lower than we were last year, the same time. Good news out of that, though, if you take a peek just from like September to October, national hiring rate is showing at a 15.5% increase just over that 1 month span. So we're seeing progress. Things are still a little troubled out there in the unemployment world, but progress is happening. Of the 22 million jobs we lost in March and April, we've recovered about half of those. So that's the good side of the coin. The flip side is we've still got about 11 million people across the country that are unemployed as of October. And we've still got about 20 million that are collecting some form of unemployment. So those are still really pretty big numbers to really be an indicator of just a slow and steady recovery of kind of our economy. 2020 September job postings down 7 million from the same time last year. Again, flip side, right? Positive though, if we had 6.4 million job openings in September, but that was an increase of at least 100,000 over August. So again, this fall we're seeing some activity. If I look out and see some of the stats from some of our bigger, more popular online posting organizations like LinkedIn, Indeed, ZipRecruiter, Glassdoor, they're all showing and reporting similar trends, sort of month over month, but still way behind certainly their all-time kind of lows of posting activity from May and April and certainly from last year. Slowly but surely, we're getting there. Let me switch our numbers and make this a little bit more local. So here in Atlanta, MSA employment stats, again, year over year from October. Our employment here in the Atlanta MSA is still down 3.1% from where we were last year. No surprise, probably leisure and hospitality sectors are the biggest portion of that 3.1 decline at 11.7% of that. So you see the actual number of jobs in parentheses. Within kind of a subset of that, food services and drinking, so our restaurants and bars, were down 17,000 plus of those lost jobs. The next group, sort of from a decrease perspective, in rank order is that professional and business services sector. We're down 4.2% of the jobs that we would have had the same time last year in October. Comparator though, so maybe again, I like this good news, bad news kind of thing. When we compare ourselves maybe to the national average in leisure and hospitality, the national average for that particular decrease in jobs was 19.7%. We're trending pretty close in that professional business sector to the national average, which was a 4.8%. And the only area that's gained a little bit year over year has been 0.5% gained in trade, transportation, and utilities. Taking it down to kind of our backyard here in the Atlanta area, DeKalb County's unemployment rate, we're currently at 5.7 versus 3.1 in October of last year. So shifting a little bit from the numbers to what I'm seeing and what I'm reading about in terms of shifting expectations of the marketplace, the labor market, and our candidates that might be applying for us. Certainly top on that list is health and safety and managing our workspace. I have never until this year, in the 32 of my 36 years with State Farm in HR, I've never had a candidate ask me until now about our health and safety protocols in the office. And so please make sure as you are evolving those within your workplace that you're keeping your talent acquisition team well informed of what you're doing and your plans, even for if you're out of the office, your reentry plans. Those are top questions that candidates are asking, and we really want to be as transparent and candid with candidates, our future candidates, as much as we are with our onboard employees about these kinds of things, because it is top of mind for them. The work from home, for those industries that have been able to do that, that's clearly become, from a candidate perspective, a strong interest, popular question. I know there's maybe still a debate from a business operational perspective, some pros and cons about the work from home model. But I think the majority of employees and candidates are finding it more advantageous than not. So lots of questions and expectations there. A new implication around sort of our branding as employers and the employee value proposition is really now being overlaid with what the public has heard and learned about how we responded as employers and treated our employees and candidates during the pandemic, and particularly during the business shutdown phase. And so continue to think, although we need to make important business decisions based on current reality, I encourage you to sort of keep a balanced approach and always think about a longer term impact to that. Again, from your employer brand. We know employees and candidates are out there posting and chatting, and social media is alive and well, and so it's become an interesting new element of the perception the labor market has on us as employers of choice. Can't kind of have the conversation without, I feel like, overlaying the social justice issues that have been certainly raised in the course of this year, bringing new attention and curiosity and interest from applicants about any organization's diversity and inclusion in recruiting, and then supplement to that, what sort of things do we have going on in our work environment that support an inclusionary workplace for them. We're seeing some surveys that are coming from newer entrants into the labor market, a lot coming out of the college setting, that are beginning to say that they're sharing more interest and willingness to explore what might have looked like very large, very stable, maybe not super exciting, big business companies, because they've also seen the success and the capability that some large organizations have had to kind of weather the challenges this year, whereas smaller businesses have maybe struggled a little bit more. Not to say that candidates aren't still seeing a small company, startup organizations, lots of opportunity to kind of be creative and inventive in those as interesting, but maybe my point there would be, if you're a smaller business, that may be something you want to begin to think about, if there's any messaging as you sell your opportunities and what they have to offer. If you had a rough time during COVID, make sure perhaps you're willing to share with candidates what you've learned and what you're doing to prepare to be able to navigate that a little bit more strongly and protect your workforce kind of moving forward. And then again, this work-life balance and flexibility that a lot of employees have enjoyed, where they've been able to keep their job, has really become a much more forward-thinking question and maybe expectation as a part of employers' value propositions. So shifting kind of these two different skill sets that I wanted to chat a bit about, hot skills and then sort of a broader service skills group of talent out there. We're all probably very familiar with how technology in both supporting our business infrastructure, our employees in that, and the way we've had to adapt to support our customers with a lot more virtual technology, that has just accelerated what was already a growing boom in a demand for what I call some hot skills, right? So things like the technology, the data scientists, infosec sectors. So that's created some new challenges. There is much more demand than the labor market has, and it's going to take a while for that talent to be grown and meet the demand that's now out there. So implications for that: be prepared. Negotiations for salary and benefits might be a little bit more fierce if you're trying to attract that skill yourself. Some of that talent, so if you worked in a tech company and tech industry, they already had a lot of work from home flexibility. If you are now in an organization where that wasn't your core business, but you've got a strong IT department, you might find some of those people flat out refusing to want to come back to the work because they might be able to simply go market themselves somewhere else to another organization that is willing and capable of having that flexibility to let them work from home. And passive candidate sourcing is really a very common talent acquisition strategy to try to find some of these hot skills type of candidates. And if you've got a candidate who's had a really good, or an employee who's had a really good experience with a stable organization, as a talent acquisition specialist trying to reach out and encourage them to engage in a conversation to maybe be swayed to come to your business, you might just need to think about how you sweeten that pot or how to make that happen. I think it's going to be a lot harder for us to do that. But there's a flip side of that, right? So the opportunities, this work from home environment, especially with some of these hard to find skills, it's really become a very global market. So if you've really sort of either sourced in your own local geographic area here in Atlanta, or you've been sort of a mindset to really want to have people in our geographic space and move here, really encourage you to think about expanding your geographical search, and also that willingness to perhaps let some of these folks, if you really need to skill, work where they really want to work. And if you can't, it's possible that know that other competitors are really going to probably be now searching in our own backyard. So you might find the competition encroaching on where you found your talent. This next bullet might sort of feel like it contradicts maybe my first bullet point about, fierce negotiating over salary. But again, if you think about perhaps being able to find talent in a city where there is a general lower cost of labor, and you've got somebody that could be quite happy to stay and not disrupt their life with having to move, and be in a city where the cost of living is much more economical for them and their family, you might be able to mitigate a little bit of that fierce negotiating and cost of the labor that I talked about earlier. Another thought to consider, if you've been traditionally really hiring kind of full-time work positions with these kind of skill and talent, think about maybe adding into your talent strategy, being flexible to fill some of those gaps with candidates that really like to work in gig assignments. They like to go from kind of one hot topic to another and jump different companies, and that might be all you need to fix or upskill really quickly a particular project that you have. Contingency workers, contract workers, they may be a staffing strategy you want to consider adding into your work plans there. And then I know it's probably really the most desired to say, let me have a 5 or 10 year experienced person to jump in and hit the ground running, but really you might find quicker someone with less experience that you could upskill themselves on the job. And it's hard for me to kind of watch exactly what my time frame is here, so somebody jump in.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay,
I
I'm
can,
afraid
yes.
we've run down the clock.
Okay, that's what I was worried about.
All right. This is such
Thanks.
terrific information, and I'm particularly interested in it. I wish we could keep going. So we'll just have to invite you back.
I would love to. Thank you. Well, appreciate being here. Sorry we ran out of time, folks.
Well, I appreciate your time very much. And for those participants that are still in the room with us, I invite you to join us for our wrap-up session on the main stage with B. Ray, whose presentation is what Harvard taught me, but my kids made me learn. So, Annette, thank you again so much for your time and your valuable expertise.
You're welcome. Thank you.